We continue now at the top of Daf Kufnun Dalet Amud Aleph and Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 154a. On the previous summit, the Gemara brought the Mishnah. The opinion of the Chachamim is if somebody gives a gift to the recipients and then he recovers from his illness and he says, therefore, it is a revocable gift. At the time I gave the gift, I was a shchimera, and then I recovered, and therefore the gift is not considered to be valid. And the recipients, they say no, that at the time the gift was given, you were actually a bari, you were a healthy individual, and there's no proof in the shtar one way or another whether the person was a shchimera or whether the person was a bari. So the Chachamim say that in this situation the giver has the upper hand because he is holding the property, and therefore it's the recipients, they have to bring evidence that at the time the gift was given he actually was healthy. And the Gemara says Raya b'mai. The Gemara says, what kind of evidence do the recipients have to bring in this situation? Rav Huna Amar Raya be'edim. Rav Huna says that they have to bring evidence with witnesses. They have to bring witnesses that say that at the time the gift was given, the giver was healthy. Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna Amri, Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna, they say Raya b'kim hashtar. All they have to do is bring evidence by certifying the document. They received a document from the giver. That was the way that he transferred to them the gift. So as long as they certify the signatures on the document, that is good enough, and then they can receive the gift that the giver gave them. And the Gemara continues and explains, Rav Huna Amar, Rav Huna says, Raya be'edim. He says that they have to bring evidence with witnesses, because kamiflagi beplugsa de Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Nassan. He says that the machlokas in the Mishnah between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim is the exact same machlokas between Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Nassan that we had on the previous Amud, and that was simply a machlokas of who has the upper hand. Do we say that it's the person who gave the gift that has the upper hand because he is the one that's in possession of the property? Or do we say no, it's actually the recipients that have the upper hand because right now this individual is healthy? That's the chazaka dehashta, that's the presumption right now, and we assume he was healthy all along. That was a machlokas on the previous Amud, and that's exactly the same machlokas in the Mishnah, and therefore the Chachamim in the Mishnah, they are the ones that say that the giver has the upper hand because he has the property, and therefore the burden of proof, which is eidim, which is witnesses, that burden of proof is on the recipients. As the Gemara now explains, Rabbi Meir Rabbi Nassan. Rabbi Meir, he holds like Rabbi Nassan that the burden of proof is on the giver because right now he's healthy. He has to prove that he was not healthy at the time of the gift. V'Rabbanan Rabbi Yaakov. And the Rabbanan, they hold like Rabbi Yaakov. They hold the burden of proof is on the recipients because the person who gave the gift, he is still in possession of his property, and so therefore the burden of proof is on the recipients. They have to bring witnesses that at the time he gave the gift, he was healthy. And the Gemara continues, Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna Amri, Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna, they say, Raya b'kim hashtar. All the recipients have to do is certify their shtar, and then they can receive the gift. According to their understanding of the machlokas in the Mishnah is when you have a situation where the giver, he admits that the shtar was written, he admits that it was a good shtar. In this situation, the person is simply saying that at the time he wrote the shtar, he was a shchimera, but it is a perfectly good shtar. And the question is, if he comes with some other claim, he says the shtar is valid, but there's some other reason why the gift should not be considered valid, like in this case where he's claiming he was a shchimera, so then there's a question. He already admitted the shtar was good, but does that require the recipients to certify the shtar? That's actually the machlokas in the Mishnah. The Rabbi Meir savar mod b'shtar shakasu eino tzarich l'kaimo. Rabbi Meir holds that if somebody admits about a shtar that it was written, so there's no need for the recipients to certify the shtar. V'Rabbanan savri, but the Rabbanan hold mod b'shtar shakasu, that if he admits that the shtar was written, but still tzarich l'kaimo, still they need to certify. He's admitting that the shtar was good, but he's saying there was some other reason why the gift is not valid because he was a shchimera. And that's why the Rabbanan say that there is a requirement upon the recipients to certify the shtar. But the Gemara continues, but if that's the machlokas here between Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan, whether mod b'shtar shakasva, whether tzarich l'kaimo or not, that already was a machlokas between Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan. The Tanya, as we learned in a Braisa, ein ne'monin leposlo. This is talking about when the witnesses are saying that a shtar is not valid because they claim, let's say at the time that they signed it, that they were minors, they were katanim, or some other disqualification. So divrei Rabbi Meir says the witnesses are not believed to disqualify the shtar. But the Chachamim say they are believed to disqualify the shtar, and the machlokas over there is based on pesha asar, pesha hitter. They're saying on the one hand that the shtar is a good shtar in the sense that they signed it, but they're also saying that it's not good because they were invalid at the time that they signed it. So the question is, do they have this pesha asar, pesha hitter? But the Gemara over there explained that this machlokas actually revolves around the very same issue of mod b'shtar shakasvu, whether tzarich l'kaimo or not. Over here in this situation, the witnesses are admitting that they sign the shtar, but they're saying there is some other disqualification. And Rabbi Meir is saying, Ein nemanim leposlo, the witnesses are not believed to disqualify it, meaning the Rabbanan are saying that Ein sarach l'kaimo, we don't need any further certification. And the Chachamim are saying, nemanim, they are believed to disqualify because there's a requirement of certification. And the Gemara continues, tzricha, it's necessary to have the machlokas, Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan, in both of these cases. The itmar hahi, because if we only had it in that situation, meaning in the case, in the Braisa, where the witnesses are the ones that are saying that the document is disqualified. Bahi koami Rabbanan, so you'll say over there, the Rabbanan say that they're believed to disqualify, meaning we say again, mod b'shtar shekasvu, that sarach l'kaimo certification is still required. The Rabbanan say that only over there, mishum da'alimi edim, because witnesses are strong, umari shtar, and they're able to say that the shtar, they're able to make the shtar, that it is ineffective. In that case, it's not the claimant who's saying that the document is bad, it's actually the witnesses that are saying that at the time that we signed, we were disqualified. So the witnesses are stronger. It makes more sense to say in that case that the witnesses are believed in order to disqualify, and the idea of tzarech l'kaimo, aval hacha. But over here in our situation, what's happening in our situation is that the person who gave the gift, he's the one that's claiming that the shtar is no good because he was a shchimera at the time that he gave the gift. So aval hacha. But over here, who delav kol kamine, he, the claimant, in this case the giver, he doesn't have the same strength as the witnesses, and that's why the Rabbanan need to say over here as well, we say tzarech l'kaimo. So emalo, I might think it's not true. That's why the Rabbanan have to say the same thing over here, and then we can say the reverse. V'yitmar baha kam Rabbi Meir aval bahach emamodeluhu l'Rabbanan. If we only said it over here, so Rabbi Meir would say it over here. Again, if you're talking in a situation where it's just the giver that is saying that it's disqualified, that might not be so strong. That's why Rabbi Meir says eino tzarech l'kaimo. But it could be that in the case where the witnesses are the ones that disqualify the document, maybe he would admit to the Rabbanon. So tzricha, that's why it's necessary to have the machlokas by both cases. And the Gemara continues, V'chein amar Rab, and Rabba says, similarly, Raya be'edim, that according to the Chachamim, when the recipients have to prove that at the time the gift was given, the person who was giving the gift was healthy, they have to bring evidence with witnesses. It is not enough that they simply certify the shtar. Amar le Abaye, Abaye said to him, Abaye said to Rabba, my time, what's the reason that you're putting the entire burden of proof upon the recipients? Ineima midakulu ksibu, if you're going to say that it's because every other document, when the person is healthy, it's actually written in there. It says, it says that this is happening while he was walking on his feet in the marketplace, meaning it's written into the shtar that the person giving the document is healthy. And over here, that's the whole point of the discussion in the Mishnah. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't say whether he was healthy. It doesn't say whether he was a shchimera. But maybe you'll say from the fact that it doesn't say he was healthy, shma mina shchimera have. So we see that he was a shchimera, and that's why the burden of proof is upon the recipients to prove that he actually was healthy. But if that's the proof, but on the contrary, you can make the exact opposite argument. Because all documents that are written by a shchimera, that's written into the document. It usually says that he was ill and he was in his bed, he was lying in his bed, and here it doesn't say that. Over here, it's not written that way, and so therefore that should be a proof the other direction. That should be a proof that he was healthy. That should indicate that he's actually healthy, and so therefore you don't have a proof from what's written in the document. You don't have a proof one way or the other. So why is it again that the entire burden of proof rests upon the recipients? And the Gemara answers, the reason is because you can have arguments in both directions. You can argue that the shtar indicates that he was healthy. You can argue that the shtar indicates that he was a shchimera, and therefore in such a situation, you have to say that the money stays with its owner. In this case, the giver is the one that is still in possession of the property, and therefore the entire burden of proof rests upon the recipients. And the Gemara continues, Uvepluksa, this machlokas we had above, is also machlokas amoraim between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. The Rabbi Yochanan amar raya be'edim, because Rabbi Yochanan says the recipients, they have to bring evidence with witnesses, again in this situation, and that he was a bari at the time he gave the gift. For Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish amar, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, raya b'kiyam hashtar, all the recipients have to do is certify their shtar, and then we assume that at the time of the gift he was healthy, he was a bari, and therefore they would receive the gift. And the Gemara continues, Eisvei Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Shimon Shimon ben Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan asks Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish a question from the following brisa. Ma'isa b'Bnei Brak, there was an incident in Bnei Brak, be'echad shemachar b'nichsei aviv. There was one of the sons, he sold the property of his father, v'meis, and then he died. Uvo b'nei mishpacha v'iraru, and the people and the family members, they came and they protested. Lomar katan haya b'shas misa. They said that he actually was a minor at the time of his death, and what they meant to say was that he had not developed the signs of maturity, and therefore his sale was not considered to be a valid sale. And right now we think that they are the ones that are in the possession of the property, and so they say they should keep the possession of the property. Uvo v'shalos Rabbi Akiva, and they came and they asked Rabbi Akiva, Mahu lebodko. And according to our understanding right now, it's the recipients that are coming and they're asking Rabbi Akiva, they're saying, let us inspect the body of the individual who sold us the property, and we'll see whether he in fact is a katan, or whether he's a gadol, whether he's a minor, or whether he's an adult. Amar lahem, so he said to them, Rabbi Akiva said to them, Iatem rashoim lenavlo, you're not allowed to disgrace him in this fashion, that you should inspect the dead body. Viod, and further, simonin asuin lishtanos lachar misa, the signs of maturity, they might change after death, so it would not be a proof one way or the other anyhow, even if you do the inspection, and therefore this will not serve as evidence. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kufnun Dalid Amid Beis.